Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Lara, a clinical pharmacist specializing in functional medicine, as well as a certified yoga teacher and Reiki master. I run a truly integrative health coaching practice encompassing functional medicine lab testing, yoga and meditation, and a sprinkling of Reiki energy medicine. Join me here on Light Body Radio to break through your health plateau and come into alignment with your natural vitality. Hello and welcome. I am your host, Dr. Lara, and welcome to the latest episode of Wellness Illuminated. Today we are going to dive into some might call a heavy topic. It has definitely touched the lives of millions all over the world and millions within the United States. And the month of October is a month that is dedicated to both breast and liver cancer awareness. So I thought today, and especially in light of some conversations I've had recently, that we would talk about cancer. But we're going to look at cancer from a different perspective. We're going to look at it from the functional medicine perspective and approach. So how can we address cancer by treating the whole person and not just the disease, and even not just the area where this disease manifests? So I'm sure many of you are aware that functional medicine looks at the root cause. And so while we look at the root cause of any disease, we also look to see how we can treat the whole person, not just the one diagnosed disease, because we know that nothing develops in a vacuum. Our body is a beautiful symphony of chemical reactions and cells and a myriad of different environments within environments underneath our epidermis. And so that's also how and where cancer develops as well. It doesn't develop in a vacuum, and it doesn't just develop in the one place that it has been diagnosed for you, whether that's breast, liver, prostate, lymphoma, any of these things. So first, I want to start from the perspective of understanding cancer from a functional medicine perspective. So when we think of cancer treatments, we often think of the conventional Western medicine approaches like surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. And these are all traditional standard of care approaches, and these methods target cancer cells in a variety of different ways, but aiming to stop the disease in its tracks and or put it in remission. Obviously, if it's surgery, then you're removing it from the body altogether, but chemo and radiation are more focused on stopping that cellular division and not only stopping the growth, but reversing it. And so here's where we're going to start to shift the lens a little. What we want to start asking is what caused those cells to mutate and start that unchecked cell growth and replication in the first place? And then beyond that, what can we do to support the body in the healing process, both during and after treatment? So again, functional medicine is an integrative approach. It looks at cancer not as just a genetic mutation or a disease to be eradicated, but more of a manifestation of underlying imbalances in the body. And these imbalances trigger inflammation, and they can be triggered by toxins, nutritional deficiencies, and even emotional stress and trauma. So again, we want to be asking the question, why did the cancer develop? And how can we support the body in the healing through the process? So I really like this approach, obviously not only because it's a functional medicine approach, it's a holistic approach, but because it's an empowering approach. It empowers the patient or the person going through this process to address the root cause, to dig deeper into factors like diet, environment, genetics, lifestyle. And it really becomes a team approach, a cooperative approach to come up with a personalized plan for healing, prevention, remission, all of those things. So part of the pillars of healing, the key principles in this functional medicine approach, the first one would be detoxification, reducing the toxic load and toxic burden in the body. And you might think, well, before I was diagnosed with cancer, I didn't have any chronic disease. I didn't really think that, I was toxic. But again, cancer doesn't just develop out of nowhere. So there must have been some sort of insult to the cellular process of replication and growth that was altered, harmed, broken, mutated, whatever term you want to use, that caused those auto stop signals and the autophagy process. And the autophagy is that cellular process of removing waste from the body and cellular waste from the lymph and the bloodstream and excreting it. There had to be something that built up and triggered all of these processes that are involved in us maintaining health and maintaining healthy elimination and detoxification processes to be interrupted. And so many of the chemicals in our modern environment, especially in the West, are carcinogenic. There's no other way to say it. And, big pharma knows it, big food knows it. This is no secret. Glyphosates were outlawed in Europe long before we even started to have the conversation in the US, and they're still legal and being allowed to be used on our farmed crops in this country. And we know that that's a carcinogenic chemical. So from pesticides to air pollution, toxins can really overload our system, weaken our immune defenses. And so we really need to, a lot of this approach is going to be building up and reinforcing the natural processes that our body already does. But obviously, if we're struggling with chronic disease and or cancer, then these mechanisms have been insulted and harmed in some way, shape, or form. So we need to sort of get back to the basics. We need to focus on our elimination pathways, whether that's sweating, urination, defecation, and the really taking care of the lymph system, which is also part of our detoxification and elimination. So reducing the toxic load, reducing how much we're intaking, reducing, meaning what we're eating and drinking, reducing what we're exposed to as much as possible. Again, I think it's practically impossible to be totally not exposed to anything toxic in this world, unfortunately, but we can support our body through the process of detoxification and elimination. So drinking filtered water and drinking it out of glass, not plastic, minimizing any exposure, as much exposure to plastic as possible, minimizing as much exposure to any pesticides or the chemicals in your bathroom products or makeup or cosmetics, ladies. So really starting to look at what's in my shampoo, what's in my conditioner, what's in my soap, what's in my deodorant, what's in my laundry detergent, what am I washing my dishes with, what am I cleaning my house with? Do I have air filters in my house that are help filtering the outside air and the air that's running through my heat and air conditioning systems? So all of these things need to be evaluated and taken down to the element and to the position of being as clean as possible. And then from there, we need to make sure that we are helping our body detox. So what does that mean? So our liver is our master detoxification organ. Only, I would say, a second to our skin. Our skin is actually our largest organ. And when we sweat, we are allowing our body to eliminate a lot of things that it is looking to get rid of, a lot of cellular waste, a lot of toxic byproducts. And so these two mechanisms are our primary ways that we're going to be unloading the toxins from our body. Now, there's other things you can do, and I would advise you to work with a practitioner with these, but there are enema protocols if you want to help your body in the elimination pathway from the colon. There are also skin brushing approaches. So that is by skin brushing with a dry brush, you are supporting that lymph movement and really encouraging it to circulate and getting to anywhere it might be stagnant. So like in the armpits or under and around the breast tissue. So if you have breast cancer or any sort of like neck or lung cancer, skin brushing is fantastic to get in these areas and really get that lymph moving, because your lymph is actually what bathes the cells to take away the toxins, but also bring in the healing aspects and the healing chemicals and enzymes that already exist in your body that are going to help your body heal and be healthy. And so from there, we also want to think about the food that we're putting in our bodies. So we mentioned filtered water, and we mentioned, trying to avoid food that is grown with chemicals and pesticides. Obviously, we want to try to eat as much organic if possible. We want to try to eat as much locally grown food. So the shorter the distance the food has to travel to you, the healthier it is, the fresher it is, the healthier it is, because it'll have more of the vitamins and nutrients that your body needs to heal. In order for your body to have a healthy immune system and a healthy detoxification pathway, you need plenty of vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, zinc, iodine, all of the micronutrients and macronutrients that are integrally involved in each cellular process and cellular pathway. So let's see. Is there more I want to say about detoxification? Yes. So there's also some supplements that can help this along the way. One of them is N-acetylcysteine. And because it helps your liver detox, it provides that master antioxidant glutathione. And so if you can find a good source of N-acetylcysteine, I'd highly recommend that, because that is a huge liver support and can be huge in unburdening your body. So I think that's all I want to say about detoxification for now. I talk about detoxification, I feel like, a fair amount on this show. So there's definitely some more episodes that you can search and listen to if you want further details. I do offer seasonal detoxes, and I won't go into that pitch here because that's not the point of this episode, but those live on my website, drlaramay.com. If you're curious and you want to find a place to start, that's a great place to start. Okay, so from there, we'll move on to sort of the next pillar in the pillars of healing, so to speak. And so this next pillar is balancing nutrition and blood sugar. So one of the things that we know about cancer is that sugar feeds cancer. And cancer is a highly metabolic process, meaning that it takes up a lot of energy. All that constant cellular division and growing and replication takes a lot of energy. So that's usually why people are tired. Maybe you've experienced a long-term fatigue before you're diagnosed and you weren't sure why. This could be possibly why, because the process is already happening in your body and that cellular growth and division is already well on its way, and it's just chewing up all the extra energy you have in your body. So, but what else happens? So we also know that obesity is the Second leading cause of cancer. So what also accompanies obesity? Insulin resistance. And what do I talk about almost ad nauseum on this show is reversing your insulin resistance and your type 2 diabetes. And so if you have type 2 diabetes, know that this is increasing your risk for cancer. If you have insulin resistance, know that this is increasing your risk for cancer. If you already have cancer and you also have one or the two of these, then know that that's something that you might want to focus on, is really getting diligent about where are the carbs coming from in your diet? Where's the sugar coming from? What kind of sugar? How much is it? What is your fasting blood glucose? What is your HbA1c? What is your fasting insulin? Are you already on medication for controlling your blood sugar? If so, is it working? Is it not working? Is it time for you to get serious instead of relying on the medication? Let's look at your food, because these are all things that you have within your power to control. So I think that's a big thing that, that a lot of us go through when we're dealing with a disease, especially if it's a disease we don't quite understand. A lot of times we feel out of control. We feel like, these things are not within my control. So many decisions are being made for me now. You don't get to decide. But these are things that you do get to decide. You get to decide what your macros are, how much protein, how much fat, how much carbs. You get to decide where is your food coming from. You get to decide where is your water coming from. Is it filtered or not? You get to decide, what medications and treatments you're going to take versus not. Yes, you might have a physician or a medical team helping you make decisions, but ultimately you're the final decision maker. This is your life, your body. You get to make the decision. And so I feel like it's empowering to know that 70 to 95% of cancers are caused by diet and lifestyle, environmental factors, and stress. And that the second leading cause of cancer is obesity. Smoking cigarettes is still the number one cause. So I think all of these things are very interesting. And knowing these things can help us be empowered and can help us have the tools to pick what we want to do for ourselves and what we don't want to do for ourselves. So I encourage you to get a handle on your blood sugar, know what your numbers are. Again, empowerment is knowledge, and you need to know what your numbers are in order to know where you're starting from and what your goals are. And so the third piece here is reducing inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a precursor to many diseases, including cancer, whether due to poor diet, poor stress management, chronic infection, or inflammation. So we really want to focus on reducing inflammation with targeted supplements. So turmeric, omega-3s, lifestyle changes like improving gut health, evaluating your microbiome, evaluating your elimination frequency. How often are you having bowel movements? What's the texture of them and the nature of them? And that might seem a little gross to think about and talk about, but it's important. Because if your body is not eliminating, then it's holding on to literally the crap that's making you sick. So reducing inflammation is, again, a combination of things. What is your mindset? What is your stress level? What are you doing to cope with those things? How are you exercising? Are you, practicing yoga or some sort of mindfulness, meditation? All of these things have been proven and are known to reduce stress, reduce inflammation. And when you reduce the inflammation, you are therefore creating health. So I think that's something that maybe we don't say enough. Reduction in inflammation equals health creation. So I also want you to think about, yes, we are thinking about putting the kibosh on a lot of different things and eliminating and detoxing but really also too, when you do these things, you're creating health, you're creating well-being. And as they like to say, health is wealth. You're also strengthening the immune system. And if you're going through chemo or any, immunotherapy, then you need a strong immune system. Even radiation really does a number on your immune system. So you really need to focus on supporting that immune system ahead of time before you even start chemotherapy, so that when you get to the point of chemo and those those low points, because that kind of therapy is rough. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. It's really hard on the body, and it can be really hard on you both mentally and physically. And so the more you can do to support your immune system ahead of time, the better off you're going to be. So implementing medicinal mushrooms, they're great for supporting your immune system. Getting your vitamin D levels checked, making sure that you have enough vitamin D and zinc in your body, because these are very important to your immune system. Again, looking at your gut microbiome, how balanced, how strong is it? Taking things like glutamate, which is helps those cells in the gut lining stay healthy. And, because chemotherapy focuses on attacking the fast replicating cells, but chemotherapy doesn't distinguish between the healthy cells and the sick cells. So some of the fast replicating cells in the body that are healthy would be in your gut lining, would be your hair follicles. So that's why a lot of times the side effects that you have from chemotherapy, hair loss, nausea, vomiting, some people even talk about like a burning sensation throughout their entire GI tract. That's because the chemo is also attacking those cells as well. So knowing what you can do in order to, again, support those cells will actually help you have hopefully an easier time with chemo and mitigate some of those side effects. There's also been some studies about fasting, intermittent fasting, both before and after chemo, because we know fasting turns on antioxidant pathways. And when when our body's in an anti-inflammatory state, then when we introduce something like chemo, then we're going to have fewer side effects on average than we did if we didn't do anything. And so the last thing here is addressing stress and emotional well-being. The mind-body connection here cannot be overstated. High stress and unresolved emotional trauma can lead to hormone imbalances. It can lead to a weakened immune system. And yes, functional medicine looks at healing holistically. And yes, we can talk about meditation, mindfulness, but maybe it's time to really find that therapist that's going to help you work through some of this unresolved trauma. Maybe it's time to get real about living in fight or flight. Maybe you're a person that is already doing a lot of the things I say, but you're still living in fight or flight because of unprocessed and unresolved trauma. So maybe that's the step that's sort of been out there that you haven't been addressing. You've been ignoring and thinking that it can just go away if you don't look at it. But maybe that's that one key piece that needs to be explored more. So I encourage you, if need be, to, find a therapist, explore different modalities of therapy. It can be a game changer. So I hope this episode has helped you think about the holistic approach to cancer treatment in light of this month of October being, again, breast cancer awareness, liver cancer awareness. But October is also health literacy awareness month. And so I think a lot of this, what I talked about today, really does also challenge you to become an active participant in your health and wellness, and to start to understand some of what these terms mean and what it means to you and how you want to implement it and or not, and what that looks like. So again, you can find on my website a myriad of tools and resources, drlaramay.com. I do have seasonal detoxes in there. So if you're wanting to try one and you need some help and support and guidance, I'm here for you. It's a group coaching program, so you also have the support of the other members in the group as well, which I think can be really helpful. And that is quarterly, obviously, because it's seasonal. And right now we're in the middle of the fall detox, and that will be going through the winter solstice. But I will say, typically with the winter detox, we usually don't start it till after New Year, just because that's easier for everyone through the holidays. So anyway, I hope this episode was helpful to you. As always, I love to hear feedback. If you have follow-up questions, I would love to hear them and follow up with you. And so have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode.